Alright everyone, welcome back. Once again for a movies list. My top 10 movies that I think are the most underrated of 2021. Yep, as I said before, it's making a return and here they are. The movies that I consider, well, the most underappreciated, the underdog films of the year that I still think should get at least one watch. So, here we go. Number 10, Godzilla vs. Kong, my most anticipated movie of 2021, which kind of was forgotten about as time went on last year, and I could definitely see why. It was not the greatest action spectacle, not epic in any way. You got some returning cast members from Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it is actually a sequel to that movie. You got Millie Bobby Brown, Kyle Chandler returning as her father, and of course some new faces in there as well. The human characters for the most part aren't as strong, so it kind of has the same problem as that movie did, but the most interesting one was the deaf child that uses sign language to communicate with Kong. That was really interesting. But as an action movie, man, it's just awesome. A lot of neon colors, as you'd expect, with Godzilla doing the constant breathing of radiation. The fight scenes are really good. They're shot very well. And for the first time, we finally get a lot of fight scenes in the daytime. So if you complained about a lot of them being shot at night, being hard to see, not to worry, this one fixes that problem easily. And, well, okay, there are some weird parts with, like, the narrow earth and everything like that. And, of course, the ending, it might be a little disappointing to find. It doesn't give you exactly a straight-up winner, but it more or less just gives you a fan service for somebody who grew up watching most of the original Godzilla movies, but I'm not going to give that away. Just give it a watch. It's a great action movie. It should definitely be viewed at least once. Number 9, Black Widow. A Marvel Cinematic Universe film which is, of course, a prequel that takes place in between Captain America Civil War and leading up to Avengers Infinity War, which, okay, may seem a little bit middling. I anticipated this because we all wanted a Black Widow story that gives us a whole background about her past and everything like that, which it does a little bit with her childhood and her family and everything, and that's all really interesting. But then it kind of jumps the gun and, well, more or less just gives us kind of a middling film with some boring aspects. The action's good on foot, but the chase scenes on vehicles are a bit sloppy. The humor is there, and, well, the family moments with her and her sister and father are probably the film's strong point. The chemistry is all there. I thought her sister was portrayed really well. I thought the father, played by David Harbour, was really good. But, of course, there are some flaws, being that, aside from being a rather middling film, well, the Taskmaster villain isn't quite the most strongest either. It's more or less just another Mandarin type of throwaway villain. So for the most part, we're going over 2 hours. You may find this entertaining, you may find it middling, but I would say it's definitely not the best, but not the worst either. It's at least better than Captain Marvel. So give it at least one shot. Number 8, Ghostbusters Afterlife. I already reviewed this one, so I didn't got much to say about it. If you were disappointed with that Abomination reboot we got in 2016, have no fear. Jason Reitman knew what he was doing and knew what the fans wanted. And even though it's not as good as the first 1984 film, it's still more than enough of a fan service, and that's pretty much what this movie includes a lot of. Fan service, Easter eggs, and although it does include a lot of cheesy jokes, and of course some of the new actors, especially the mother, and some of the jokes she says in the movie may seem a little off and silly, and some of the parts in the film might seem a little silly too as well. But being that, yes, this is actually a third movie that takes place many years after, you can't help but admire all of the fan service that has gone into this that give the fans what exactly they wanted. It has the original music from the first movie. It brings back lots of stuff that you'd admire about the original films. The special effects are really good, and they even bring back the original cast members from the original films, as well as a nice tribute to Harold Ramis, who has sadly passed away in 2014. May he rest in peace. And be sure to watch during the middle and end credit scenes of this movie. You won't be disappointed at all. As I said, may not be as good as the first two films, but it's still more than enough to please any die-hard fans of this franchise. Number 7, Mortal Kombat. Yes, based off of one of the most bloodiest fighting game franchises of all time, which I know movies based off video games don't exactly have the best track record, but give them credit, there's at least some decent ones out there that are at least watchable, and this is definitely watchable. I enjoyed the original 1995 one, even though it's PG-13 rated. It's at least guilty pleasurable, but the sequel, of course, Annihilation, was a complete piece of crap, and this one is definitely much better than that, and might I dare say better than the 95 film? Okay, it may not be a masterpiece, but hey, you got some of the original characters that you are well familiar with in the games. You got some cool fighting scenes. You got blood, yes, because it's R-rated this time around. They didn't screw around with it. And a lot of swearing, which I know gets a little excessive, especially out of Kano. I mean, there's a lot of cheesy jokes, and yes, I know Johnny Cage is not in it. They're setting him up for the sequel, which we don't know as if it's going to happen or not. But if it does, I'm all for it, and I'll definitely see it. But I could safely say this one is at least worth a watch if you like the video games. It's not a masterpiece, but I didn't expect it to be, but it's definitely not terrible either. It's not exactly a flawless victory, but it's at least worth one watch. Number 6, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, the sequel to the 2018 film, which I know was not exactly well received with fans, but hey, Tom Hardy was definitely a much better Venom than Topher Grace. I mean, we can all agree with that. Some awkward jokes, some cheesy effects, which I know is only PG-13, it should have been R-rated, I get it, and this of course also was PG-13 rated. Again, has a lot of cheesy jokes in there, some awkward moments, and of course this time around it focuses around Woody Harrelson's character, who we were hinted that is going to be in this, as Carnage, from the last film during the mid-credit scene, and I do find it a bit awkward that he has a love interest this time around. But the action is pretty good. The characters are very well likable. And, well, it's Venom. It's definitely not as bad as the last one. I'd actually say it's an improvement over it. Because the action's much better, the pacing, it's slightly longer, and there's some moments that actually get some laughs out of this. Not to mention, there's also a little connection you might notice with the MCU, sort of. So, yeah, if you enjoyed the first one, I'd also give this one a watch as well. Some people may have liked it, some people didn't, but again, it's worth one watch. Number 5, Cruella. Yes, I know we're all getting sick and tired of these live-action Disney remakes, but no, this one's more of a reboot/origin story about our main villain from 101 Dalmatians, Cruella, and how it makes her look more misunderstood kind of goes with the more maleficent, wicked approach about her character and how she became a thief and everything like that. Shows her origin story of when she was a child up to becoming an adult, mostly when she was an adult, and she's played by none other than Emma Stone, who I have to say did a fantastic job. I like the old school music that they throw in here with all the time periods that it takes place in. Very nice touch there. The costumes and all the style and everything is really nice. Sure, of course, some of the screenplay in it may be criticizable, you know, with her origin story and everything like that. And, okay, it did go on for over 2 hours, which you may think is a little excessive and doesn't exactly have the best theme to it, but, again, it's at least worth a watch if you're really into Disney films, especially ones that are PG-13 rated. Yeah, that's right, this one is PG-13 rated. Disney is really taking a step up this time around, and I gotta say, they really took a chance and it sort of paid off. So, give this one a shot if you're not really into live-action Disney remakes. It might change your mind on them, even though, of course, as I said, it's not really a live-action remake. I still like Glenn Close, but I will say Emma Stone definitely killed it this time around. Number 4, Luca. Yes, from one Disney film to another, this time we have an animated movie, and it was on Disney Plus, not for $30, at the same time it was released in theaters. I wonder why, and it was kind of forgotten about, at least in my opinion. Mainly because we had other hit Disney animated movies before and after, and this one kind of flew under the radar. I did watch it, and I can safely say I enjoyed the hell out of it. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, a sea creature that is forbidden from going on land, talking and communicating with people, which he disobeys them. We've seen this kind of thing in Finding Nemo, Little Mermaid, so I didn't really think it was going to work out, but surprisingly it took the necessary steps to make something different. Yeah. Apparently this time it's about friendship. He goes on land in Italy, out of all places, and the scenery and animation is great, the characters are great. This makes a great story, and it should definitely be watched at least once, even if you're not into this kind of stuff, and it's all about trust. It definitely shows that Disney is not afraid to take risks. So, yeah, that's why I consider this one underappreciated, at least in comparison to their other animated movies that released this year. So if you have Disney Plus, give it a watch. You definitely will not be disappointed. Number 3, American Underdog. Yes, a true story film about NFL star Kurt Warner, who went from rags to riches, who dreamed about becoming a big NFL star and, well, obviously didn't make the NFL draft, but still didn't give up his dreams despite a lot of roadblocks and odds all against him. What can I say? It's kind of been done before, but as I said, it's a true story, and the accuracies that this movie does is pretty well true to what really happened. The performances, especially out of Zachary Levi, who, well, we all know I met at Comic-Con several years ago and is well known as Shazam from the DC comic movie, and that's what got me excited to see this one. And of course, his girlfriend, Brenda, played by Anna Paquin, who we all know as Rogue from the X-Men movies, did a fantastic job. The likeness of the real-life people was very well done. I mean, yes, it's a little predictable, and sure, the beginning might be a little slow, but trust me, it picks up very well after that, and for a movie that goes under a 2-hour runtime, I was very well entertained. It's very well done, very well directed. I can't say anything bad about the performances. They were great. Give this one a watch, believe me. I know sports movies may seem a little exhausting, but this one, well, they don't call it American Underdog for nothing. It's a nice, feel-good sports movie, and it sure is an underdog. Number 2, Stillwater. Yeah, I didn't know what to really expect out of this, but with Matt Damon, you can always expect a great performance, and he does just that with this one. Again, was kind of forgotten about and flew under the radar with most people, and of course, his daughter, played by Abigail Breslin, is convicted of murder over in Europe, and he has to go over there and try to prove her innocence, despite obviously not being there. So yeah, it's one of those father and daughter estranged relationship type movies that does seem to drag on for, of course, a 2.5-hour runtime, and at the same time he gets acquainted with a family over there. So you get a lot of those kind of emotional scenes that do drag on at some points, but it gets right to the point at most part, and it comes very well engaging. So again, if you could sit through some long moments with, of course, a lot of subtitles and everything like that, you can definitely have yourself a good time with this one. It's a great drama that definitely does get somewhere. I can't say much more, but just go check it out if you really got the patience and time to sit through it. And the number 1 movie that I thought was the most underrated of 2021, Cry Macho. Yes, even over age 90, Clint Eastwood can still direct and act in his own movies. And I could safely say, based off of the novel, which I obviously didn't read and didn't really know what to expect out of this plot, I was very well entertained. His performance was really good, even though he's not crotchety and ill-tempered like he was in like Gran Torino per se. It's no Gran Torino, I will give it that. He will never direct anything that great as long as I live, but I can safely say, after watching this on HBO Max, it was entertaining. It had a good story. Not exactly the most strong story, but the relationship he had with, of course, a kid from Mexico, which he's trying to bring back into the United States while avoiding all sorts of different obstacles, the law, drug dealers, and so forth. It definitely keeps you on edge, and definitely engaged into this plot. Of course, there's some slow parts, like when he stops by this family and helps them out. A very nice feel-good type of film, and, well, that's all I can say about it. Clint Eastwood may not have what he used to with his directing, but with his acting, I still say, even over age 90, he could still do it. Give the man credit and give this one a watch, believe me. It may not be his best, but it's definitely not his worst, and that's why I consider it the most underrated film of 2021. And that sums it up for my list right there, people. Till next time, keep watching.